So, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. My guest today is Brit Payne. Brit, what title should we use for you? Because
Oh,
you're
just
you're
Brit.
here.
Brit.
What?
Brit.
What?
That title
No,
is
no,
what you
no.
should
I
use.
I I I meant like I normally will describe people as a writer of this or that, or the editor of this or that, and like I will absolutely describe you as the guy that runs autism panels at various cons, but that's not really a title. But you're not really here in your official capacity, so I don't know what you want to be. And
Yeah,
this
that's
matters
a
for when I start promoting the episode too. So we'll just talk about it on air rather than after.
sure. That's an interesting question. Well, yeah. So I think they are all they all sort of dovetail. I'm a longtime comics fan. I've been a collector since 1970, I don't know, five-ish or something like that. And very consistently, except for that dark night when you give up for your latter teenage years and come back in your early 20s. But otherwise, I've been a consistent Wednesday warrior. And I got a job after law school working for eventually where I am now, Nickelodeon and Paramount, where I'm an animation attorney for Nickelodeon and Paramount's animated, mostly series and their made-for-TV movies. But because I have that name on my business card, I am able to leverage that into other things, including speaking at Comic Cons. And because of my son's autistic and he's 10 years old, and you sort of learn a lot of stuff and you have a sense of wanting to share and help, and the things that you can share and where you can help. I've taken to trying to speak at Comic Cons and various other places about autism in comics, autism in pop culture, and specifically in trying to be an advocate for the creation of more explicitly autistic characters in kids television. So that's my project that I'm working on, and I guess that's a chunk of why I'm here, and that's how I met you.
Right. And that answers the follow-up question, which is why you're here. But the question is, what titles should we use when we're promoting?
Gosh,
Should
can
we
I
call
just
you VP Legal at Paramount? Do you want to
uh
keep them out of it?
you could say animation attorney, you know?
Animation attorney. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, that keeps them out of it. Because you're right, I'm not here in my official
Everybody will think
capacity.
you're Harvey Birdman.
That's perfectly fair. I would
Maybe
happily
that's
wear
the
the
picture I'll put up for you rather than putting your, because I finally put together. I don't know if you pay attention to us on Instagram at all. Finally put together graphics that I've been using to promote the episodes, but I prefer to put like a issue cover, and then I prefer to put a drawing of the artist, which for artists is generally easy because they have like self portraits somewhere that I can find. Tom King just I just put his Batman drawing up instead of his face. And I don't know if you've ever seen Tom King's art, but it's special.
I've seen the covers of Danger Street, and I heard you chit-chatting with him about it. And I
Right.
actually even know the price that he puts on his original art, and I know why he puts the high price on
That was from a previous conversation because
it.
it
Well,
takes
I
so
I
long.
heard
Yeah.
it I heard it just the other day, and it was a very fun
Okay.
conversation you had with Tom King, and he's fun to listen to, and you're a fun
Yeah,
interview
no.
of him.
Did you listen to the new one? It dropped like this week.
Yeah,
I talked to him Monday night. Okay.
you talked to him Monday night, and then I
Yeah.
heard it Thursday, I guess, and today's
Gotcha.
Friday.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. This is why we say hi Brit on the air. I don't have to say hi Brit during this episode because I already did.
if
Brit
you
just
did
got
though.
mail and I get to see what he's
Yeah.
opening. Is it
Well, this
something
is kind of
interesting?
interesting. It is interesting. So I said that my son's autistic. He's 10 years old, and he has an ultra rare genetic condition called Muckle-Wells syndrome. As you would probably know as a special needs teacher, a lot of times there are comorbidities with special needs kids.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
it's not like you just have one thing. You usually have, just like most people, you have multiple things. And his
Yeah.
thing is this auto-inflammatory condition, not an autoimmune condition, auto-inflammatory condition, for which he takes what turns out to be, I believe, rheumatoid arthritis medicine once every 6 weeks. So this is the
Gotcha.
thing, and he's
That's
going to
his
be taking that.
medicine arriving.
That's his medicine. It goes right in the fridge, and then the syringes and stuff go over with all the syringes things. And
Gotcha.
the idea is that it makes it so that he should never have the symptoms of this. So it's as an
Okay.
auto-inflammatory condition. it wears out your kidney over a very long period of time, because I guess your kidney is trying to process the enzymes that are about being inflamed, which never go down, or at least are much harder to get to go down. So you have a lot more inflammatory enzymes that get processed by your kidney. And by the time you're in your 40s, if you're untreated, you get kidney amyloidosis and you die. So fortunately, this medicine they figured it out. But that's part of the process. And so that's what I was just putting in the fridge. Oh,
Very
rats. And
cool.
the whole reason I went downstairs was to get my drink. What do you like to, what do you, Tad, what do you like? And now I'm going to be huffing and puffing because I'm allergic to exercise right now. What do you like to drink when you are podcasting?
Right now I have a chocolate caramel latte that
Ooh.
I made for myself right before we started. It was one of the reasons I was late. The new baseball season dropped on my PlayStation today, and it had more new content that I needed to log in my spreadsheet than I realized. And I was home on a mental health day and therefore kind of had time to do it, except that it took me more time than I realized. So I was so happy when you texted and said you were going to be a little bit late, because I'm like, I was about to text you that I was going to be a little bit late, but my reasons weren't as good. I don't even know what your reasons are, but mine aren't as good.
I had to pick up the dog
Mine
from the
are,
groomer.
I am incapable of leaving a task in the middle,
Yep. Is that hyper focus for
particularly
you?
when it's something like data entry that's
Yeah.
very repetitive. I can't just stop and come back. I have to finish it up.
Well, as
And
long as you know
and I
yourself, that's how you
and I
self-regulate.
could have and might have skipped the cup of coffee if you hadn't texted me that you were running late, but since you did, I'm like, I still have time to make it.
Well, good. Well, the good news for me is that this podcast interview is my mental health break
There
from
you
my
go.
day. My wife has encouraged me to sort of cultivate my friendships with my comic book friends, and also to be more to speak publicly, because I really enjoy getting on stage and talking and podcast interviews and such. And so
My
this is
wife
really, and I enjoy
encourages
your
me to
company.
cultivate my comic book friendships too. So we have wives that are similar that
That
way.
is two thumbs up for us then today. We're doing great.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Well, do you want to get started with my idea for
Yeah.
what we can?
Yeah. No, you wanted to see how long we could go into your cabinet of books before we came across a book that you loved that I hadn't read.
Okay,
And I'm
that's a
gonna
pretty
laugh
good.
so hard if it's the first one you pull out.
I'm not going to try and I'm going to treat this like learning tennis, not trying to win at tennis, right? I
No,
would like
I
to keep this
understand.
volley. I want to
That's
volley,
why I'm
you
gonna
know?
laugh so hard if it's the first one you pull
So
out.
let me let me give you a little bit of an explanation.
Particularly because I think you always forget that I am not nearly as versed in superheroes as most hardcore comic people.
Well, it's also funny too that, like, as far as I can tell, you and this guy Michael Myers, who I follow online, probably are the most prolific readers of comics, and you guys both, but you in particular, go deep into it, right? So when I, as a longtime comics reader, I feel like I know everything, I've read everything, and then I listen to your podcast and be like, I didn't even know that category of thing existed, you know. So it's been really cool to listen to what you say and then kind of follow up on some of your recommendations,
Actually,
particularly when
this
someone,
reminds me,
Mhm. Yeah,
and this is the ADHD part of autism kicking in. I don't want to forget this. Um, there is, and I'll send you a link. There is a law comic. The illustrated guide to law is
Mm.
even available for free online. I would love to read it with a lawyer who can actually like tell me if it's as good as it looks like it is, and like they've got some blurbs from impressive places, so I'm assuming that it is. But so
Yeah. So
I'll
is it specifically comics and law?
no, it's like law
The
law.
law.
It's
Oh,
like
that's
it's
interesting.
like it's like uh,
I could probably use that.
it's not coming up right now. When it comes up, I'll read you some.
Mm. Okay.
Unless,
Well,
unless it
so
went down, that would be
the idea
terrible.
for the podcast that I was suggesting was do Brit's cabinet. And so to sort of set the stage, when I moved into this house about 4 years ago, I finally decided that I needed to really cull my comic book collection. So I decided that the thing that brings me joy to own the physical copies of are the floppies. And so I have all these cabinets that include my individual comic books, anything that was a collection trade paperback. I essentially got rid of. I sold it on eBay. I donated it. I gave it away to kids. I gave it away to my cousin, my wife's cousin's kid, who was just getting into reading comics. And so I must have given away, I don't know, 10 long boxes worth of, non-floppies. But there were some that I wanted to hold on to because they only were collected in this one form, or they're not floppies, but they're still great. And so that's what I have in this cabinet. This is sort of the cabinet where I keep what I think of as the jewels, right? The real gems of the collection that meant something to me at some point. And so I'm gonna just go ahead and open this and see what I think I have 3 shelves of it. Okay, I see where I'm going to start. Some of these are pretty recent. I predict I'm going to read you these 5. I know you've heard of one because I gave it on my presentation. I imagine you've definitely read one, and we'll see. Okay, so the first one it's on the top of the pile. I just read it. It's awesome. It's stamped from the beginning.
Yes.
So this is
though we are planning on doing a roundtable around it soon. So you just volunteered.
I sure will. I'd be happy to. And in particular, this is a book that, as you probably know, some of this I'm telling you things you already know. But have you read the illustrated version?
Yeah, that's the one that I've read.
Yeah.
I haven't actually read the physical version. I mean to read the physical version, but I haven't yet.
Yeah, this is
not
the
as
illustrated
good with
version.
words without pictures.
Well, that was the reason that Kendi decided to engage Joel Christian Gill to illustrate this history of racism. It's called Stamped from the Beginning, A Graphic History of Racist Ideas in America. It's a tremendous book. I guess we'll talk about it at the roundtable. But for anybody else who's listening and doesn't catch that.
I do, and I've said this a few times on the podcast, but most people don't listen to all the episodes, so I'm okay repeating myself sometimes. I saw an interview with Kendi when it came out,
when this
he
one
made
came
the
out.
most brilliant point I've ever heard made about just history comics in general, but he was talking about this book specifically. He's like, I don't know if you've read my book, but it's kind of heavy.
And yeah, I heard the same interview, I think.
And when it comes to prose, there's really no way to lighten things without making light of things. And it's supposed to be heavy. I don't want to make light of things, but when you're doing comics, you can have the weight here and the joke here so that you have the humor and the lightness without taking away from the gravity. And that is I think so true.
It's really true, and it's really true in the execution by Joel Christian Gill.
Oh, Joel Christian Gill is masterful.
He's wonderful. He's got a visual style, if you're not familiar with it, that is it's a lot like Chris Ware. It's beautiful. It's relatively simple. It's easy to follow on the eye. It's consistent, and Joel has a really great sense of humor in the way that he writes. So exactly like what you were saying, all of the heavy content is in there. It follows sort of 5 different historical figures sequentially from, I don't know, the 1600s.
Though Angela Davis today makes appearances in the past, and that's one of the that's one. And there are a lot of anachronisms. The running jokes is Angela Davis will show up and go,
Yeah. Well, and so will the characters of the day. That's one of the kind of cool things about what Joel Christian Gill does with it, is he kind of like Sergio Aragonés in Mad. He will make comments on the side about the things that he is seeing, and so it is political. The comments are making judgments and sort of helping you learn about the content, but they are also funny. He's using modern slang to criticize, I don't know, Booker T. Washington or whoever it is, and it's really interesting. It does exactly what Kendi hoped. I believe it makes it more palatable. It makes it easier to read without getting too deeply depressed. So Stamped from the Beginning. That's a connection for us. This is if you loop your finger and your pointer finger and your thumb together into a hoop, and then make 2 of them, and then interlock them and kind of poke them at each other. That's a connection. That's how my kid, when he and somebody else have something in common, he goes, a connection, and he makes that gesture. So you and I on Stamped from the Beginning, connection. Here's the next one. It's called The Ride Together, a brother and sister's memoir of autism in the family. I'm guessing you do not know this one.
No, actually, I recommended that one to you, but I haven't finished reading it.
It's another connection then. So you are the source of this one. Yeah,
I haven't finished reading it, but I came across that just after we met.
Oh, neat.
And sent you.
You gave me the link.
Link, yeah.
So it's
I've read the first quarter of it. Yeah.
It's a memoir of a brother and sister.
By the same guy. Really quick.
Yeah.
because I this is how I came across it, and like it will give you the breadth of my comics stuff. Paul Karasick, who does the comics part of it,
Hmm.
also was the co-author of How to Read Nancy and the
Oh, no kidding.
co-illustrator of um what's the oh, why can't I remember it right now? David Mazzucchelli, City of Glass.
Hmm.
The adaptation of the why can't I see my brain's not working today.
Well, while you're digging, let me do a brief description of the book. So it's called The Ride
The
Together. It's by
yeah, but he's the co-illustrator of City of Glass, the adaptation of the Paul Auster novel.
Gotcha. So
And
that's
and
Paul
so both
Karasik.
of those were things that I was yeah, both of those things were
Wonderful.
things that I was already doing for the podcast.
Well, when we get
So
to
I
this one, I'm
looked
happy to
more
chat
into
with that one
him and
too.
I went, "Oh, wait, there's an autism book." And I just immediately dropped it into a text to you.
Well, let me tell you what it is. It's called The Ride Together, and it's by Paul Karasik, who you were just talking about. He's the illustrator, and his sister Judy Karasik. And it's a memoir story of these people who are now, I don't know, it's a 20-year-old book, and it seems largely to take place in the 50s and 60s, and it's about essentially growing up with an autistic brother in that era. And you get to learn his particular affect, the way autism affects him. Alternating chapters are either drawn and illustrated or illustrated by Paul and written by Judy. And I'm sure that there's plenty of overlap between the two. So you read the cartoon stuff, and then you read some prose, and then you read some more cartoons, and then you read prose. So it's half a comic book and half prose. And I found
Cool.
it really compelling, especially, I've done a lot of speaking about, as you know, speaking about autism and pop culture. And this is one that there aren't too many of them. This one does a particular slice of what it's like sort of before the modern era of our understanding of autism. So it was pretty cool to open
Right.
my eyes about that kind of stuff. All right, you ready for the next one?
Sure.
The Ojo Woja by Magdalene Visaggio, who I'm sure you know who that is, and Jen St. Ange. So this is the
I
book.
have not read that. I
Okay,
know
so the reason,
the
yeah, the reason I have this is because it's sort of a Scooby-Doo type story. A couple of girls who are get wrapped up in a supernatural something or other. So Magdalene Visaggio is autistic, and she has written an autistic
I did
character
not
as her
know
lead
that.
in this story. Yeah, and
I love their work, but I did not know that.
yeah, it's a little spooky. It's a little more spooky, I think, for my daughter than she was ready for when it came out. Like I can show you some of the illustrations. It's a cute style, but then occasionally it will have, pages that are
Right.
legit like spooky looking. And it
Right,
was
right,
just a
right.
little much for my daughter when she was 7 or 8. But this is part of my presentation. The lead character is autistic, and it gets mentioned, and you sort of experience it. It's not really particularly a focus of the story. It's just part of the reason that these two girls are outcasts, and that is an important part of the story, is why
Right.
the fact that they're outcasts puts them in circumstances where they can try and break the spell. So it's really good. My daughter liked it, but it wasn't. It was a little much for her at that age. She probably would like it now. So that one, you've never heard of that, but you know who Magdalene
I
Visaggio is, right?
I know both Visaggio and Jen Senong.
Oh, really?
Um, I mean, I haven't met them, but I know their work or other work. I don't know this work. In fact, Visaggio's got a book called Galaxy of Madness right now with Mike Avon Oming that I read religiously.
I think I
Just
heard
had a
about that on your
issue come
podcast.
out
Yeah,
this week. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I
So
mean,
okay.
Mike was on to talk about it.
Oh, well, that would explain it. So here's the. You ready for the next one?
Sure.
So the next one is called. So these are all these three just happen to be in the pile because I bought them as part of my presentation, Autism in Comics, where I track every autistic character explicitly autistic character who has appeared in comics, and these are more the graphic novel ones rather than the superhero ones. So this is something called Little Victories by Yvonne Roy.
That one I know and love.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's sort of, I was going to say Calvin and Hobbesy, but it's not. It's not really Calvin and Hobbesy. The cover echoes Calvin and Hobbes. That's the reason I
Yeah.
sort of think of it. But it's a dad and his son, and it's really about the dad's journey of the son's autism. So it's very dad
And I
centric.
well, and I know that one gets some mixed criticism in the autism community, but that's one of the reasons that I love it. And having been in and around the autism community, both as a special ed professional and as on the spectrum, and having run dementia units and been around the Alzheimer's community and the other dementia communities and whatnot, I get really frustrated by people who think that the way they do things is the only way to do things. What I saw there was a father that found a way to be a father and love his son, and a son that was happy. So who the hell is anybody to say that it's wrong? It might not be the right way to do it for them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think in the autism community, when it comes to pop culture, there is so little content out there that anything that pokes its head up subjects itself to the kind of criticism that it's not all things to all people. And that
Right.
is, on the one hand, totally legitimate criticism. And on the other hand, challenging because then who's going to bother sticking their head up? And so
Right.
I think the real, and this is sort of part of why I'm trying to get more artistic characters into pop culture, the real response to that is volume. The
Right.
the the big issue I think that readers would have with this thing is like, oh, great, another middle-aged man telling his perspective. When
That's
so
definitely
much of
one of
pop
the
culture of the last century or more has been about middle-aged white men talking about their
right.
perspective on things. And so is Yvonne Roy taking up oxygen that could be, more equitably used by somebody else? I think that's the criticism. And I think your interpretation of it is exactly right. For me, as a middle-aged white guy, dad of an autistic kid, a lot of the things in this book resonated with me. So
Yeah, I've
between the
actually heard
pages,
some, and I haven't read it recently enough to remember, but I've heard some specific criticism about, oh, you shouldn't do that with an autistic kid, or oh, you're blah blah blah, and it's like, I mean, there's a huge fight that tends to be between the parents and the autistic kids, and I tend to fight or to side with the kids themselves about what is it, CBT?
ABA you're talking about?
Yeah, maybe. I always forget.
ABA
I
is a
hate
particular kind of
acronyms.
behavioral therapy that
Right.
that
I hate
its
acronyms.
history is that it teaches autistic kids how to mask, how to suppress
Right.
their impulses so that
Right.
they can fit better
Right.
into society.
And by and large, I again side with the autistic kids. We should have a society where they don't have to mask. On the flip side, having also worked with some autistic kids, I or a lot of autistic kids, there are some levels where it's less masking and more being able to be in society at all. I mean, because
Yeah. Mhm.
it's one thing to like mask a tick, right? It's another thing to not hit the person who said the wrong word. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah. So, and it's funny as
You
a
don't get to go to the store if you're going to hit the person who says the wrong word. But yes, the store should adapt to you if you just like make weird sounds.
Yeah, and so I understand. Look, it's a complicated issue. I'm not the autistic person at issue,
Right.
and so at some level, I don't know that I have an appropriate thing to say. But what I know I can do is sort of use my position and spoons
Mm-hmm.
to elbow room for the people who do have opinions and do want to say things. And so, I don't have a particular specific agenda for how autism should or shouldn't be treated or
No.
shouldn't be presented. I'm just trying to do what I can to like elbow out some room so that it can happen. And that's I also I'm empathetic with the evolving notions of how autism fits in our society and the best ways to treat it and everything like that. I believe that good people are trying. And
Yeah.
some of the things, even from this book, which was I think 2016, it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
some of the things in the book that he would have done that at the time might have been exactly the treatment that was
Right.
recommended, people now know better. In the same way that our parents were feeding us lard, in the
Or
70s.
and again, this is just there's almost nothing that's for everybody.
Yeah.
So even if we might know better, do we really know better, or have we moved on to the newest fad treatment? And there's still a place for it. It's just not as universal as some people made it out to be when it was universal. I deal with this a lot because I'm proficient at something that absolutely opens massive doors for a number of autistic kids. But most of the adults involved treat it as, oh, this is for all autistic kids, and this is how we prove that all autistic kids are really geniuses. It's just that they have communication issues. And I've done enough work into it to know that it does absolutely unlock some kids in really profound ways, and that there are other kids who it's not their problem.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so that's why I think
But
it's a
as
volume
with
issue.
any scary disease, I mean, again, I saw this so much in autism or in Alzheimer's as well. People want things that you can just say, do this, and it'll be better. And no, that's not how humans, medicine, or science work.
Yep. Well, listen, speaking about complications and humans and science, the next book, it's possible you made me get this.
Ah, Mary Tyler Moorhawk, so
Mary Tyler
good.
Moorhawk by Dave Baker.
Dave
So I,
Baker,
I got it.
yes.
I ended up chit-chatting with him for a minute and he
Yeah,
signed it
I
and
I
did me a little
introduced
personal
you. I
drawing.
remember that.
He may have done this drawing in front of you, but
Yes, he
uh,
did.
he gave me a
Yes, he
neat little
did.
drawing inside the book, and he was wonderful to talk to. He was a cool guy.
He
I
is.
found it.
I
I
need
found
to
it.
I need to have him back.
He was so great, and it's such an innovative. The drawing and the writing in this book are so innovative. Um, for anybody who hasn't read it, among the most striking things I think is that there are two colors of ink, black and pink, and
Right.
so the whole thing is rather ornately drawn and only uses black and pink ink. And so, and it's kind of small, and you have to read a physical copy, or at least I did. I didn't have the digital copy. So my vision, which isn't as good as it used to be when I was younger, made it challenging to follow and read just because it was not digital. But I don't think you could read this book in a digital form and have the same experience either.
I have.
You've
I've
read
read
it
it both
digitally?
ways. Well,
You probably
because
read
he
it
sent
as the
me he
PDF,
sent
right?
me a PDF
Mm-hmm.
before it came out. Um, so it can be. In fact, in some ways, there were parts of it that I liked digitally because um, I like to be able to zoom in sometimes
Yeah, me
in
too.
a way that I can't do with my eyes.
Yeah. Um, yeah. But I thought it was a really
Oh,
thoughtful, innovative, like clever,
yeah,
pushing the medium in a really interesting
yeah,
way type book. So,
yeah.
okay, so that's five books. Should we take on the next five?
Sure.
All right. I
I'm
think you know
all
the.
for having little quick hits on the books that you love, and I either know or don't know. So far, there's one that I don't know, and I
Okay.
need to
Well,
get to
this
know it.
this
One
one
that
is
I
my
haven't.
daughter's book. I'm sure you know this book.
I know it, but have not read it.
So
I
I
have
don't think
heard
I've read it
amazing things. I'm
either.
pretty certain
I've
that
read
my
parts of it.
wife has read it.
This one is called I Am Not Starfire. It's by Mariko Tamaki and Yoshi Yoshitani. And it's a beautiful book, very well regarded, but kind of like you,
Yes.
I
Well,
haven't read it.
Mariko Tamaki is amazing. Um, and frankly, DC has been killing it with that line of books.
Yes.
Their
Yes, I
their
agree.
YA books have been amazing, and I believe quietly they're bestsellers.
I think you're right about that
Um,
too. And I think some of these might come up later
just
in
not
our.
in comic shops. They sell in bookstores and Target and Walmart and Meyer and whatever your West Coast equivalent of Meyer and the East Coast equivalent of Meyer, the regional. Every region seems Walmart and Target are in all regions, and every region seems to have a competitor for them that's
Mhm.
regional. I don't know what it is on the West Coast.
I don't know. Yeah, but it's a really good one. Okay, so here's one. This is so old. Um, it's
Oh
Love
yeah.
is Walking Hand in Hand, and
Um,
it's
have
got
you read?
And Sherm and oh, I forget her name now. Heck, what's her name? Anyway, it's a
Uh,
Charles Schultz book that just has like inspirational little quotes.
yeah.
It was
have
published in
you
1965.
yes. Have you read um there was a Charles Schultz biography done in comic form recently
Oh yeah, no, I haven't read that one.
that is just totally outstanding. And that's actually where I learned about that book because it was in included. It's called Funny Things, a comic strip biography of Charles Schultz.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
But well, what I particularly love about it is it's by a couple of French guys that I'm pretty certain were born after Peanuts stopped publishing.
Oh wow, that young and they care about it. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
All right, you ready for the next one? This
yeah.
one I have not read, unless I read it digitally, but it's Harvey P. Carr, The Quitter,
That I haven't.
drawn by Dean Haspiel.
Dean Haspiel. Yeah.
And I really don't
It's
remember
another
how
one
I
that's
got
very
this.
much on my list, but
Yeah,
I haven't gotten to it.
I've seen Dean Haspiel speak, and so yeah, that one's definitely on my list, but I
I
haven't read it. How
subscribe to his
about
newsletter.
I know you know this author? It's Goodbye Chunky Rice by Craig Thompson.
I feel like I've read it, but I don't remember.
You can see it's got a style like kids cartooning, so it's not in the
Right,
blanket style and it's not in the movie
right, right,
style.
right.
Um, Alan Moore is one of the people who did the blurb on the back, so it's top shelf. It's probably 25 years old, maybe 30. Let's see. Copyright 2004, 20 years old. Oh,
I feel
1999,
like I
25
got
years
it
old.
from the library once. Um,
Yeah, it's one of those that it seems like people recognize that it's great, but it didn't catch me. That's not, but I've loved his other books, which is probably why I'm holding
yeah,
on to it still. I think I got this one for free, Sergeant Rock Combat Tales.
that I have not read.
I don't know why I still have it.
I'm
And
not
then
big
Secret
into war comics.
Len Wein Swamp Thing. I'm not really into horror comics either, but I have this one
Swamp
for
Thing
some
I
reason.
like.
Yeah, I don't. I know I've read some of these in comics, and I've read some Sergeant Rock in comics, but I have not read um, those particular copies. Okay, so I'm going to dig to the back shelf. The front shelf is all my Chris Ware stuff, and that will be maybe that's its own episode. But now
I need if you love Chris Ware, then you need to like sell me on Chris Ware sometime because
oh,
I
I'd love to.
feel because I've read a fair amount of Chris Ware
Mhm.
and I don't dislike Chris Ware, but I also don't feel like I've unlocked Chris Ware.
Interesting. I
Does
feel
that
like
make
I had an
sense?
experience. Oh, totally. I had an experience with Russ, the one that's the smartest boy in the world, and
Jimmy
uh,
Corgan.
Jimmy Corgan. That's right. And I read
Yep.
that one so many years, 25 years ago, and
Right.
there was something about it that was just so sad, and it must have resonated with something I
Yes.
was feeling at the time. That he got me. He got me for life. Like it just affected me that way. It got me at the right age, the right time in my life, and so he got me. So since then, I've sort of amassed a collection of, as far as
Whereas
I know,
maybe I made the
everything he's
mistake of
published.
reading it during one of the early periods in my life where I was actually like happy, but I felt the sadness. I just didn't get the point of the sadness, and it just kept going and going and going.
Yes,
And I
yes,
felt like there needed to be a point to both the sadness and the reason that it was so drawn out, but I wasn't unlocking it. I've heard some things since then that make me want to reread it and maybe I'll come at it differently with fresh eyes, having heard things about it that I'm like, I totally missed that. But
yeah.
yeah, I just haven't yet.
Interesting.
I've
Okay,
got
so then
building
on the
stories
shelf,
sitting around. I've got Rusty Brown sitting around. I've
yeah,
got a lot
yeah,
of Chris Ware.
I do too.
I have
Okay,
such
so
an
the next one,
appreciation for him.
I have Strangers in Paradise.
I love Strangers in Paradise.
Yeah, me too. I have the whole.
We've had
I guess
Terry
these
Moore on
are.
twice.
It's so good. I don't remember if
I
he's
love
revisited or not,
yeah, I
but
love
yeah, I
all
have
of
all those
Strangers in
volumes.
Paradise. I have the big hardcovers.
Oh yeah,
Um,
these are the ones that I was buying. I don't think
I
as
think
they came
Motor
out.
I think Motor Girl though is my favorite of his work.
I remember getting Motor Girl, but I don't know that clicked with me. American Born Chinese
Oh yeah,
book is great. TV show is great. Guy
haven't
Delisle,
seen the TV
Pyongyang.
show.
TV show is really
I
great.
like
It's
Guy.
different from the
I
book.
like Guy Delisle, I haven't actually read any of his travel journals yet.
Well, this one is Pyongyang. It's a journey in North Korea, and it is essentially the story of him being the animation supervisor on a project that was made in North Korea. So he would have to go over there and try. The part that really stuck with me is him arriving and traveling from the airport to the studio. It was in a bus or something like that, and it was on one straight road, he said. And then he would get there and he'd work with the guys, and then he'd get on the bus and go back to the airport. And he came to realize, as he was just seeing the normal scenes of life and supermarkets and stuff on either side of the street as he drove down, he started to realize that when he looked in the supermarket, it had photographs of food. It was almost like a prop set that he was driving past, and like, because the oranges were always the same color and in the same arrangement.
You mean it's possible that in a separate but more recent thing, that like the famous right-wing reporter that decided to go to Russia to say how much greater it was than the United States was only shown specific parts that had been staged for his consumption? No,
that is possibly the case.
So who would do anything that crazy?
His style is really gentle, I think, and the story is not flashy.
I've read Hostage, and I've read a number of his like parenting humor books.
I think he's got a recent one about working on a rig in Canada.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet, but that's and he's got another one coming out that we just talked about on the show, and I can't remember what it is right now. But yeah, Guy Delisle does really quite fantastic work.
I have a couple of his books, but that's the one handy. Okay, Please Please by Nate Powell. Is this something you know?
Oh yeah, Please Release. Oh yeah.
Please. Oh, excuse me, I misread it. Please Release. Yeah,
I love all things Nate Powell.
Oh, do you? Maybe I should reread this because I don't remember it. It's from 2006.
I consider Nate Powell at least a friendly acquaintance. I don't know if we've quite crossed over into friend. Nate, if you're listening and I'm wrong, please send me a message to tell me so.
What are his works that have resonated with you?
Probably the one that actually resonates. The two that resonate the most are Save It for Later, which is his book on parenting essentially during the Trump administration. And his new punk rock book, Fall Through.
I'll have to reread that thing and then look into this. I recognize the name, but I don't immediately associate it with any particular work. So it sounds like
I like Any Empire, and of course, his most famous work is March.
Oh, of course. Well, I've read that. I have all of that.
All three volumes of that are amazing, as is Run.
Yeah, I have that too. Do you remember when the story about March is, of course, about John Lewis, the civil rights activist who's famous for marching across the Edmund Pettus Bridge and getting assaulted and then eventually getting into Congress?
So one of my students who was brilliant but can't speak on his own wrote a speech for a class where you were supposed to write as a civil rights activist. So you were taking, you're like role playing. So he wrote this beautiful speech from the perspective of John Lewis. And Andrew Iden, who's been on the podcast a few times, I reached out to, and he recorded it to be my student's voice for sharing it.
That's awesome.
with the class. And we threw up a picture on the projector of Andrew, the congressman, and Nate Powell on the Edmund Pettus Bridge.
While
we were playing the recording. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so he was probably, he passed away not too terribly long ago, but this book was this graphic novel was the story essentially of his time in the 60s as a civil rights activist. And he was inspired to make that book, obviously, by a comic book that he read when he was a kid that was about Martin Luther King. So he recognized the value of the medium.
A little bit. Mostly he was inspired to write that book, and we've talked about this extensively on 22 Panels. Go back and listen to the episodes.
Hmm.
By Andrew Iden reminding him of that comic, putting that comic
Right,
in
right.
his
Yeah.
hand, saying, "John, seriously, I think you need to write your story as a comic."
Yep. And so he did. And then one of the cool, and he's not a, well, I don't get the impression that he grew up with comic books as a big part of his life as an adult, but he got into it enough that he was promoting it at one of the Comic Cons, and
Oh yeah, lots of them.
he
They went to San
cosplayed,
Diego
but
together.
one in particular, he cosplayed as himself, and he led so he wore the same trench coat that he has in the comic book and the same
Right.
fedora and the same briefcase, and he had a march from one end of the
Nice.
con to the other end of the con,
Right.
cosplaying as himself. I thought that was so cool. Like, what a fun idea. Now, he might have been flanked by the 501st, like
Right.
the stormtrooper,
Right.
charity
Right. No,
organization. I don't remember that part, but
I never got to meet or talk to John Lewis, but just hearing the stories from Andrew and Nate, he was truly a remark. I mean, Nate told me
yeah.
this, and this is also on the air somewhere, so this is public now. Um, Nate told me this story. Apparently, um, Lewis had a sweet tooth.
Yeah.
So they were always stopping for ice cream, or he was grabbing a candy bar or whatever.
Oh, that's
Um,
fun.
and you have to go back and listen to the story because Nate did it way better than I think I'm going to give justice to. But there was a night where they
It's a
got
good
back to the
teaser.
hotel. They got back to the hotel, and he went over to get a Snickers ice cream bar and decided to grab two instead, and made some sort of comment that Nate just the teaser is, I don't remember enough of the setup to be willing to do my impression of Nate doing his impression of the congressman. So go back
Uh-huh.
and listen to the story, because it's so wonderful and playful, and
That's
you
great.
know
Well, so is the book. I mean, like, it's obviously it's a heavy subject, but it's
yeah,
breezy and it's a fun read. It's a super interesting read.
sometimes breezy. Other
Well,
times
yeah, I
not
guess that's
so
true.
much.
It has its prosy
Nate,
moments,
Nate
but
talks
still.
about pages that made him cry to draw.
But so that's what that one was. That was we were talking about
Yeah.
Nate Powell, I guess, coming off of that other book. Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah. Sure.
Ted Rall. Do you remember Ted Rall? Ted
Ted
Rall
Rawl, I
was an
do not know.
oh wow, you're gonna love him. So he's an alternative comic. His comics were often in the Village Voice. He's sort of a Matt Groening type. If you think about Matt
Okay.
Groening's comic strip work, this is a book called
Okay.
My War with Brian. It's basically about getting bullied. His experiences getting bullied as a kid. I haven't read this in so long, um, but obviously I cared about it enough about it to hold on to it. I can see the pages are a little bit yellowed. It looks like it is from 95 ish, but let's see if I can figure out what this is.
Oh, I think I may have read The Stringer.
It's at least 1998.
Because it looks like he does
Well,
like
so let me explain what it is.
political.
It's essentially political
Yeah.
editorial cartoons with a
Oh, he did
jagged kind
Snowden
of
too.
punk
So
rock
I've actually
style.
read some Ted Rawl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His comics used to be in the I'm gonna say avant-garde, the sort of what used to be a hippie newspaper called the Village Voice. Ah, here we go, 1998, and it really was like a lefty publication. And he has this abrasive style, both visually and in his writing, and which makes you feel like you're really closely in touch with his emotions. I would, and that I think is the best way to read it and take it that way, not necessarily as a historical document, but as an expressive document of emotions reflecting his experiences and the times. And I found it really cool. Like I'm not saying I like subscribe to everything he ever said, but that I liked getting that window into somebody and their particular agitated experience.
Well, it looks like he actually does a lot of comics journalism, like
Oh,
not
interesting.
comics journalism as in journalism about comics, but
Comics
journalism
about
in comic form. He
yes.
looks like he because he's got, I mean, again, I read his Snowden book, didn't even
Hmm.
realize, I didn't remember that it was Ted Rawl, but he wrote a book on Edward Snowden. He wrote a book on Bernie Sanders.
Mm.
Um, I mean, it looks like he's done a lot of, I mean, there's one from 2002 to Afghanistan and back, a graphic travel log.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Some of those also
Uh,
might be collections of individual cartoons that
they
appeared
could be.
in newspapers. I just don't recall, and magazines and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was Ted Rawl, My War with Brian. Um, this next one, oh, this is the prettiest, most sweet book. I know you know this one. It's Laika by Nikobatzis. Laika. You know this book, right?
I know it. I don't know if I've read it.
It's so sweet. It's lovely. It's the story of the first dog in outer space, basically. So like Laika is the name of the dog. It's this Russian dog that gets, in the 1950s space race gets put in a tin can and sent into outer space. So it's the story of a dog. It's super cute. Um, Eisner Award winner. It was Publishers Weekly Best Book of the Year. So it did really
Okay.
well. It's for is it young adult? Yeah. Kirkus gave it a young adult
Yeah.
award.
Young adult
Let's see, what year was
came
it
out in
about?
2014.
2004. Oh God, I can't
So
believe that was
just
10
as I
years
was
ago.
getting back into comics.
Mhm. And it's published by First Second, which I feel like is a new
I
name.
love
A new
First
name.
Second.
Oh yeah, I
No,
wonder if it's the
First
same
Second's been
First Second.
around for at least that long, but they
Oh
do
wow.
a lot of YA and a lot of nonfiction. They have what they call the World Citizen line that does a lot of comics. There's one called Fault Lines in the Constitution that takes you through both the history of the writing of the Constitution and some of the compromises and or push it down the line things that were done at the time
That sounds
and
right up
how
my
they
alley.
have resonated throughout the future.
Oof. What's that one called again?
Fault lines in our Constitution. It's actually another adaptation of a prose book.
Cool. I'll have
Um,
to when I re-listen to this podcast, I'll have to do it with a pencil and write down some of your
well,
recommendations. These are great.
I have started doing show notes again, and
I know you told me.
I have been opening up tabs for all of these, so they will be in the
Well,
show
great.
notes with links. But fault lines in our it was Cynthia and Sanford Levinson are the authors, and Ali Schwed is um the
The illustrator.
illustrator. Fault
I
lines in the
have so
Constitution graphic novel. But
shortly.
the entire World Citizen line, I mean, I'm just going to read you some titles from the World Citizen line because you're going to be all over it. Um, entire World Citizen line. We've got Born in the USA, Story of Immigration and Belonging, A Fire Hose of Falsehood, The Story of Disinformation, Why the People, The Case for Democracy, Unrig, How to Fix Our Broken Democracy, Fault Lines in the Constitution. They adapted What Unites Us, Dan Rather's Reflections on Patriotism, RE Constitution, which is a look at constitutions around the world and
Mhm.
how other nations that started with ours as a foundation, but also were
Mhm.
able to learn from how things went here and in other countries, did things differently. Free Speech Handbook. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing. Well, so I have to check out
Big
First
fan of
Second.
First Second.
Good for them. All right, I have a book that I'm almost positive. This one I put money down that you don't know. It's a hardbound copy of a collection of cartoons that I only knew to appear online, and I followed them. And it was back in the dial-up days, so I would wait and wait and wait for a new one to come out. It's called Shutterbug Follies by
I do not
Jason
know it.
Little. Yeah, this one is one of
Jason
these things. Like I don't know how
Little.
big the print run was, but it might have
Yeah,
been small.
Jason Little rings bells.
So
I
this is
don't
a
know.
story basically of a young woman named B-E-E, if I remember right. Uh, 2002, although I think this is a collection of comics that would have appeared prior to that. And it's a story of this young woman trying to sort of find her way in the world. And I think it's called Shutterbug Follies because she's a photographer.
Yep.
And so it's kind of
Okay.
the very mundane, as I recall, adventures that she had. So it was kind of like alternative comics at the time. This would have been born of the late 90s. So it's in the slice of life sort of category of comics. And I think the graphics, it's very colorful, and it doesn't look like Chris Ware, but it has that sort of simplified art style that nonetheless feels innovative. And I just remember really liking it and wondering, I felt like I was seeing a new form of storytelling, because I probably was. I think he was doing digital comics. I think these were digital before that was the whole
Right.
way of doing things. I'm going to do two more, both of which are categories, and then maybe we can call that round one of Brit's Cabinet, because we're coming up
Yeah.
on an hour. Okay, so these are books
Well, I
that are.
mean, I'll go longer than that if you want to. Whatever.
I would
Did two
rather
and a
come
half
back and do
hours
another one.
with a political cartoonist recently.
I'm sure we could, but part of it is that my family's going to be coming home soon. The dog's
Oh,
going to
you
bark,
mean
all
you
that kind of
have
stuff. I
responsibilities?
do, I do. Well, listen, speaking of kids and responsibilities, if you want to introduce your kids to comics, there are these
My
wonderful
first Superman.
square-bound books. This one's called My First Superman book, and these are pop-up books that have textures, and they have little things that you can do. So this is the X-ray vision page, where you can sort of
Nice.
see it reveals something. They are based on essentially, they're just square-bound books for young kids, like
Touch and
under
feel.
3. Yeah, and that you would
Right.
read to your kid, and but it introduces them to their bodies using the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez and others.
Oh, nice.
The artwork that is considered, like what you put in a lunchbox if you license it. There was
Okay.
a whole book recently that was published of all that stuff. I had an early copy of it because I used to work at Warner Brothers Animation. Not early copy, I had a bootleg copy of
Right.
it because I worked at Warner Brothers Animation. So I'm just showing my first Batman book, Superheroes ABC 1, 2, 3, my first book of Girl Power. Even Superheroes Need Sleep. It's designed to help you convince your kid that it's time to go to bed.
Looks like there are at least 14, 15. Oh, no, there are two collections
Oh
that
wow!
can be purchased.
But they're really well manufactured. I mean, my kids are now 10, and so I've had these books for 8 years or so. So I don't know if they're still in print or
Cookbook.
anything like that. What's that? Oh, a cookbook, yeah. And I
Cookbook.
think
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Simon and
So
Schuster. The superheroes opposites,
yep,
busybodies, first dictionary,
I don't think I have that one.
supervillains, sleep. Superheroes have friends too. Big book of superpowers, big book of girl power.
So as an adult who grew up with that style, like those are what comic books looked like in the 70s, and when somebody had a lunchbox or a
Superhero math
backpack.
and tech.
Yep. Oh, tech. I didn't know that one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's
Superheroes have
fun.
feelings too. And it's
That is
not
true.
written by Tom King. What?
So they're really good books. I enjoyed them as like a way of introducing my kids
Bedtime
to.
stories, science,
Mhm. They
brain
introduced my kids to the
boosters.
superheroes that I liked and who had the
Okay.
look that I liked. As they get older, they get their own versions of things that they like. But I don't know, as a parent of a Gen X parent, these were
Yeah.
the books. These books looked like the comics I
Christmas is
grew up with.
around the corner, and I have grandkids that are the right age for this. So,
It's a good one.
thank you.
All right, so here's the last one. I'm also almost positive you don't know this one. Um, it is probably, I'm going to guess, it's a manga series called Eagle by Kaiji Kawaguchi. And this text is too small for me to be able to tell what year, but it's got to be 1994-ish. Wait a minute, I can see it now. I need better light. Oh, I'm sorry. This is making for bad podcasting. Okay, it's around the year 2000, and it was sort of inspired by the Clinton presidential
Making
run.
of an Asian American president.
Yep, the making of an Asian American president. So it's a manga about, kind of a West Wingy book about an Asian
Okay.
American, I think, senator who ends up running for president. And it's very much of the
This
Clinton
is like
era.
so
It's
up my alley.
it's very West Wingy. I don't know how well it aged. I read it relatively close to when it came out. So I have no idea. It's going to seem quaint to you, I'm sure, because it's like, oh no, if they catch me chewing bubble gum, I'm not going to be able to be president. You know,
See, I miss those days so much though. So I
maybe
mean,
it will have that
this is
value then.
this is why I still watch The West Wing.
Yeah.
I mean, do you remember when having an undocumented nanny was
Yeah.
grounds for not being nominated?
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. That was when and Clinton was trying to name his attorney general. And he started with Laney, I think, Gunier, and then she got
Yeah,
blasted. And then he
right.
nominated his second one, and I think she had like maybe worked in a Playboy club or something like that for like a minute when she was trying to pay for college, and then that booted her out.
Right.
And it ended up being Janet Reno who became the attorney general because essentially,
Right.
oh yeah, and then the nanny one was, I think that might have been her real problem, but not I wish I could
But
remember her
yeah,
name now.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and that's how we got Janet Reno.
Now we have Russian puppets and sex traffickers and 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 absolute quackery conspiracy theorists that just happen to have famous last names.
Oof,
That's how
yeah,
you make a
well,
cabinet, right?
I guess so. We have a spoiler alert in my house where we're not we've unplugged,
I
and so
understand.
I have casually been following and decided not to get every twist and turn.
Well,
But
I
yes,
will
what you
say
were saying
that
is pretty accurate, I think.
the sex trafficker has decided that he doesn't want to be a distraction, so he's removed his name from consideration. Not because he like has any remorse or anything like that, and ironically, right after it became clear that the congressional HR report would come out if he actually went through a confirmation hearing. He doesn't want to be distraction to the important
Well,
work being done.
Tad, don't worry. I'm sure he was able to extract a promise in exchange for him dropping out. So he'll be
Uh,
fine. If just in case you were worried.
I'm positive. I'm positive that he'll. I mean, until a new announcement was made only a few hours later, I actually was assuming that it was another pump fake. Yeah, I'm a distraction right now, so I'm totally not going to be the attorney general until Congress goes into recess, at which point I'll be the attorney general. That was what
Right.
I was expecting. So, I mean, we're already a little bit better than that. Just
Well, look, let's kind of wrap it up a smidge. What books
sure.
did you find in Brit's cabinet
Oh
that
God.
resonated?
I mean, they all feel entertaining. The biggest thing is what can I get between now and next week? What can I manage to put my hands on and read? That's
So
something that I
these
haven't
ones will
read
actually be
before.
tricky, right? Yeah, these will be tricky
Some
because
of them will be, yeah.
some of them are not necessarily published digitally. So you would have to find a physical copy, and some of them are, I'm sure, out of print. Shutterbug Follies, I'm sure, is out of print.
Actually,
Eagle is
Shutterbug
probably
Follies
out of print.
is not out of print. I could order
No, oh, that's
that
great. Good.
for $15 right now.
No, that's
Um,
half what I paid for it 20 years ago.
right. Um,
But it's a quick read. That one won't absorb you for very long. Eagle, you can really chew on. It's probably got 20 volumes.
yeah, Eagle's going to have to be a future type thing because I would want to dive in.
Yeah, and then any of that
Um,
other Guy Delisle stuff, I assume that's digital because he's such a
oh yeah,
well-regarded.
I think most Delisle is available digitally now. Drawn and Quarterly goes back and forth though. Drawn and Quarterly's only recently started doing digital. So, and he was one of the first authors that they did it with.
And while we're talking Guy Delisle, so the book that we were talking about before is called Factory Summers. I just happened to, I'm sitting in a different room now, and I just reached over to the shelf. I found Factory Summers, Burma Chronicles, which honestly I don't recall at all. Um,
Burma
and uh,
Chronicles I know, but I don't think I've read.
and Shenzhen, which is so these are Shenzhen and Burma
Yeah,
Chronicles appear to be travelogues, and
just
Factory
like Pyongyang.
Summers. Well, Pyongyang was more of, because it was work. It does have the feel of a travelogue, but it really is telling the story of, oh, I was over there to do a job. Whereas I think
Right.
the other ones, maybe he was there to do a job. I guess I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I haven't read these in so long.
he's another guy that's considered a comics journalist. So, I mean, I think he was
Hmm.
sent to those places to make the books.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, what do
looks
you
like
think,
the
Tad?
Ted. I'm looking on availability, and because another one of the wild cards is like, if it needs to be shipped, can it be shipped
In time.
in time? Because some of the stuff that I've looked at, like early December is the earliest we'd get it. I'll start looking at my library soon, but Kind of glancing through to see if anything happens to be digital. We could both do I Am Not Starfire.
All right, we can do that.
Hold on. Because I think this might actually be my winner if it's digital or can get to me soon. It is digital. I want to do the Aja Waja.
Okay, so we did Oja Boja and I Am Not Starfire, both of which are essentially YA books, and one is
You
a
want to
little
do them
younger
both?
than YA. Sure, why not? They're probably short. I mean, I've already read Oja Boja, so
Okay.
I can talk about that one, and but I'll reread it. And then the other one is I Am Not Starfire, and I think those are both they are related because they're sort of targeted at the same audience, which I think is the new and thriving audience for graphic novels. The future for us as readers,
I mean, it
might
should be. If you're
depend
not
on
trying
who's
to,
being popular.
right, if you're not trying to get the kids, then I mean, this has been baseball's problem for
Yeah.
the past decade
Well, it's
is
to my
like,
eye, comics have unlocked it. I mean, it seems like, particularly my
yeah.
daughter's interested in adaptations of other things. So her Anne of Green Gables adaptation, her Star Wars adaptation.
Oh, I
Um,
just picked up the Anna Green Gables adaptation
I mean, there might be
because
multiples,
it
and
was
it's not a direct adaptation. It's an inspired by, but it's she loves
okay.
it. It's all Rain Telgemeier type
Um,
stuff.
because there was one that was it was one that was on a Kindle deal, so I jumped on it
All right.
because
Well,
anytime
look,
I
Tad,
see a
I
comic
need to
that
jump.
there we go. I Am Not
Great
Starfire
stories.
is on Hoopla, so people who want to read along, it's
Perfect.
in the
So if you're
library app.
listening to this, read along with us, read the Oja Woja, read I'm Not Starfire, and then
Yeah,
in our next
yeah.
episode, we can chit chat about them.
Yep. So we will talk what next Wednesday afternoon,
We're going to talk next week,
just
I
in
think.
time for Thanksgiving. Yeah.
Perfect.
Have a good one, Britt.
You too, man. It's been a
For
pleasure.
22 panels and Brit Payne, we'll see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22panels podcast.